Here's a balanced look at how an escalating war or serious military conflict involving Iran could affect the United Kingdom in both the short term and long term, covering politics, economy, security, and society. Short-term impacts, months to 2 years. Diplomacy and risk to British nationals. The UK has temporarily withdrawn its embassy staff in Tehran due to rising security concerns amid fears of military escalation. Consular help for British nationals in Iran is now limited. Energy prices and cost of living. Middle Eastern instability often drives up global energy prices because markets fear supply disruptions. Even if Iran's direct oil share is relatively small, 3–4% of global output, high uncertainty can push oil and gas costs higher, affecting UK energy bills and inflation. Financial market volatility. Markets react negatively to geopolitical risk. Stocks can wobble, and commodities like oil and gold often rise. UK investors could see more volatility, especially in energy, defence, and supply chain exposed sectors. Defence and security posture. A serious conflict would likely increase pressure on the UK government to heighten defence readiness and intelligence operations. It also strengthens NATO cooperation on Middle East contingency planning. Geopolitical tension with allies. The UK may be caught between support for allies, especially the US and Israel diplomatically, and domestic public pressure for diplomacy. Allegations, such as blocking US military use of some bases for an Iran strike, show how sensitive this is. Long-term effects, years to decades. Economic structure and inflation. Prolonged instability can keep energy prices elevated over years, contributing to higher inflation and slowing economic growth. Even outside direct conflict, persistent risk premiums make supply chains and investment planning harder. Defence spending and strategic focus. Longer-term military tensions may push the UK to invest more in defence capabilities, intelligence, and Middle East engagement. This increases public spending on the military, potentially at the expense of other areas like health or education. Trade and investment. Global trade routes that run near the Middle East, e.g. through the Strait of Hormuz, are vital. Disruptions or prolonged insecurity can raise costs for UK importers and exporters, pushing up prices for consumers and firms. Political and security policy shifts. UK foreign policy might shift toward a more assertive Middle East strategy to protect its interests, including stronger alliances with Gulf states and NATO. A failure to articulate an Iran policy beforehand has been seen as a risk, potentially exposing the UK to broader regional instability. Sanctions, diplomacy, and international relations. The UK has already imposed sanctions on Iranian officials over human rights violations and ballistic missile activity, and a full conflict would likely deepen these measures. Long-term sanctions regimes and diplomatic isolation can shape trade ties, financial flows, and legal relationships for years. Broader Middle East security. A major prolonged war could reshape regional alliances and power balances. This may lead to renewed conflict cycles, affecting UK foreign policy demand across decades, from counter-terrorism to refugee flows and humanitarian missions. Overall, in the short term, the most visible effects on the UK would likely be economic volatility, higher costs of living, and heightened security concerns, plus immediate diplomatic challenges. In the long term, the UK might see shifts in defence spending priorities, trade patterns, foreign policy strategy, and potentially higher structural economic costs if Middle East instability persists or escalates. This is a complex and rapidly evolving situation. The exact impacts would depend on how the conflict unfolds, whether it stays regional or broadens, and how global partners and markets respond.